Hi, boys and girls. We're going to continue with our biography of Abraham Lincoln by Augusta Stevenson. But first, let's look at our words again. Remember, we're working on our ending sounds. We have vowel, vowel, CH, coach, roach, peach, speech. We have consonant CH, bench, starch, branch, porch. And then we have TCH, catch, scratch, stitch, stretch. All right. So we have our 3 words to review. Good sport means you just kind of go with the flow. You don't get upset. Unusual means not normal. Popular means you are well liked. And then today we're going to add the word evidence. Evidence is when we gather information to help prove something. So for instance, when I have you write your opinion papers, I ask you to use evidence to support your opinion, why you think what you think, why you think something is better than something else. So we're going to look for evidence today that Abe is an amazing guy as we think he is so far. All right, this chapter is called Moving to Illinois. Mrs. Sarah Lincoln stood alone in the little cabin on the Pigeon Creek settlement. The room was empty. The bureau, chairs, and stools were gone. The feather beds, quilts, and spinning wheel were gone. Mr. Lincoln's guns were gone. There wasn't even a coonskin cap on a peg. Mrs. Lincoln looked about the empty room and began to cry. Just then Thomas came in. "Come, Sarah," he said. "The wagon is loaded and we are ready to start." "I don't want to go," she said. "We've lived here a long time and I love our neighbors. I don't want to leave them." "But I can't make a living here," said Thomas. "I thought this land was good, but it isn't. I can't raise a good crop of anything." "I know, but I hate to leave Indiana," said Sarah. "We'll get rich in Illinois, Sarah. They say everything over there grows twice as fast and twice as large. So we'll have all the money we want and you shall have a new Sunday dress." Sarah smiled and dried her eyes. Then she followed Thomas outside. There stood the big wagon drawn by 4 oxen. It was loaded with furniture, feather beds, quilts, skins, clothing, tools, shovels, saws, and many other things. There was even a plow. There was scarcely room for Mrs. Lincoln, but she climbed up and sat on the load. Matilda and Sarah Johnston walked by the wagon. They were large and strong and could walk miles and miles without getting tired. Pretty Sarah Lincoln wasn't with them. She had died 2 years before. John Johnston, Dennis Hanks, and Abe were young men now, but they went with the family and walked with Mr. Lincoln. At night they camped in the woods. After supper they all sat around the campfire and told stories. Mr. Lincoln told Indian stories. He always knew a new one. Abe told funny stories. He always knew a new one too. John, Dennis, and Abe took turns watching the fire. This time Abe didn't burn all the wood in one big blaze. He kept a small fire burning, but no green eyes came nearer and nearer. One day they crossed a small river. It was cold weather, and the river was full of chunks of floating ice. When they reached the other side, they heard a dog barking. And there, across the river on the shore they had just left, was their own dog. They called him, but the dog was afraid to swim. He was afraid of the floating ice. He ran up and down the shore, barking pitifully. He was trying to say, "Don't leave me here alone. There is no one here to take care of me. I shall starve to death." And here's a picture of Abe, and you can see the dog on the far bank. "Just listen to him," said Abe. "I can't stand it. I'm going back after him." "No, Abe," said his father. "We haven't time. We must go on." "I'll catch up with you," said Abe. Into the icy river he plunged and swam to the other shore. The dog was wild with joy. He licked Abe's hands. He jumped. He pranced. He barked joyfully. Then into the icy river Abe plunged again. He held the dog up out of the water and swam with one arm. It was hard work, but he reached the other shore safely. The wagon had gone, but Abe overtook it. That means he caught up. He put the dog in the wagon and walked on with them. "He is tender-hearted," said Mrs. Lincoln. "No one else would have crossed that icy river to get a dog." "Abe couldn't let the dog starve to death," said Matilda. "The others didn't even think of that." "That is what makes Abe different," said her mother. "He thinks of everything." In the new state, The Lincoln family now lived in a new state, Illinois. Mr. Thomas Lincoln had bought land on the Sangamon River and had built a cabin on the bank of the river. Abe helped to clear the land for the cabin in a field. He helped build a log cabin and fence in the field. Then Abe left home. He was now 21 years old, and he wanted to make a living for himself. "You have been a great help to me, Abe," said his father. "You have given me every cent you ever earned. I wish I could help you now, but I can't." "I'm sorry to see you go, Abe," said his stepmother. "You have been very good to me. You have never given me a cross word, and you have never disobeyed me. I love you as if you were my own son." "You have been good to me, Mother," said Abe. "I will never forget you, and I will help you as long as I live." Now I'm going to stop here and summarize. We've learned a lot of new things about how settlers lived. We learned that their children give their money to their parents even if they are working. That's different than today. And we've learned that they may stay with their parents until they are 21. Many children leave home before that now. And we have learned that they leave home without a real plan and they don't know what they're going to do. Life was very different when Abe was a young man, because like when our kids leave, they might have a specific job or they might be going off to college. They have a plan. I don't think Abe has a plan yet, but we'll see. Abe carried his clothes in a small bundle. This he tied to a stick which he carried over his shoulder. He had a little money, about 25 cents. He found plenty of work on farms nearby. He plowed, chopped down trees, and split rails. He husked corn, took care of horses, cows, and pigs. He did every kind of work that was done on a farm. If there was no farm work to be done, he would help the farmer's wife. He carried water, dug potatoes, fed the chickens, and churned. He even took care of children. He didn't mind rocking a baby to sleep because it gave him a chance to read. He rocked the cradle with his foot. So Abe worked and worked. From sunrise to sunset he worked. But he was never too tired to tell funny stories and jokes. He was never too tired to be kind to everyone. Before long, Abe had many friends. They invited him to Sunday dinner. They told him to stop in when he was passing by. They liked Abe because he wasn't rough and quarrelsome. Mostly, they liked him because he was kind. One cold day, Abe saw a man chopping wood. The man was barefooted and his clothing was old and thin. He was shivering with cold and he looked unable to work at all. Abe felt very sorry for this poor man. "How are you this cold day?" he asked. "I'm just about ill," said the man, "but I have to chop this wood. I need shoes." "Give me that axe," said Abe. "You go home and sit by the fire." The man thanked Abe and went home at once. Then Abe swung the axe, and there were few that could swing an axe as Abe could. He knew just how high to lift it. He knew just how hard to strike. So it wasn't long until the great pile of wood was chopped. It wasn't long either until the poor man sold it and bought shoes. And he was devoted to Abe Lincoln as long as he lived. So we're going to stop right there for today. But further evidence that Abe is a pretty incredible guy. He knew he was ready to leave home. You know, he and his father don't agree about the type of work he should be doing, and Abe wants to find a way to go to school. But his father had moved yet again, and so he stayed to help to get the land ready, the cabin built, to make sure that his dad was taken care of before he set off on his own. And so we'll read some more tomorrow. Thanks for listening.